Please welcome to the stage our star today, the beautiful and talented Carol Lawrence.
You think I know about these things? I'm still crying from the movie. That's the first time I've seen it. It's quite a dramatic. Dear Lord, Italians are intense people. I know because I'm one, and I love that about them. I'm going to sit down and say that I was really thrilled, and I'm very honored to be here today, and overwhelmed by this movie that I've never really had a chance to enjoy. It's hard to enjoy it because it's so black. Sidney Lumet really did a black tragedy, and I was moved by it. I was truly moved just seeing Maureen Stapleton. It was worth the price to be in the movie just to work with her. She was the best actress I had ever met in my life. And I worked with a lot of ladies. But all you had to do was show up to the set and know your lines and look into her eyes. And then we start crying again because I miss her. I really do miss her. And she was what kept you going through the Paris spring with a lot of rain and a lot of tension and it was a difficult movie to shoot and to play and to do. And Arthur Miller was on the set every day, which was quite wonderful. It was like having a very tall, gray Abe Lincoln who was Jewish. But he was magnificent and so charming. You understood why Marilyn Monroe married him. You really did. He was magnificent. So I'm here to thank you for coming and to answer any questions that you.
Let me ask you about
you have questions.
Yeah, I do have questions before. So a lot of people don't know that you filmed this in France.
In Paris, yes, in Épinay.
The indoor scenes, right? The studio
all
scenes.
The indoor. Whatever we did in America was in America, in view of the bridge. It really was, because that's where the authentic set was. And so that's where we did it. And it was quite a film to shoot. Magnificent actors.
Everyone is so incredible in that film. I mean, really, there's not a bad performance.
Oh,
and the fact that this is your film debut, the first time you ever made a movie.
Yes.
How spectacular.
It was wonderful. It was learning a whole new way. They say, take it easy. I mean, they keep bringing me down from a stage performance, you know. And I learned a great deal from Mo, more than anything, was how little she did in the scene, and how honest it was. And Ralph was another question. He was how big it could be, and how dramatic everything had to be, and how loud. But he was beautiful.
He had quite a presence.
Yeah, he was magnificent.
And of course, he was a big star overseas. Not as well known here.
No.
But I know this movie changed that in a
Yes.
lot of ways.
No.
And now you told me before the interview that you were not able to go to the premiere.
No. My mother and father went in my place. I was still doing West Side Story on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you. Maybe you weren't old enough to have seen it, but it was magnificent, and certainly my favorite performance on Broadway.
But you did go to the after party.
I did.
Everyone was congratulating you, and you were like, well, I hope it was good.
So it's kind of strange.
Yeah. But you never got a chance to see it.
I never did.
Well, I'm so glad that
Well,
we
it's an art film. It's not as if it's playing every 25 minutes. You had to get it when it was, and I was doing the revival of West Side Story. It had been on the road. I had done the movie and all that, and
right. And so let's go back to sort of the beginning with West Side Story and
Yes.
sort of how you got your start in the theater, which
Yeah.
is how you're very well known. But was it something, a passion of yours as a child growing up that you wanted to be a
My
performer?
mother tells me from the time I was in a crib and pulled myself up, if there was music playing, I was dancing. I wasn't dancing, I was moving to the music, I was doing that. I still cannot resist moving if there's music playing. A little part of my foot is tapping, and I'm enjoying it. So it began, and then I would always just imitate Shirley Temple and entertain people after dinner. You know, my mother was a great cook. And then they would say, why don't you just bring her to a studio and let her learn how to do it right? So that's what my mother did.
So you took singing and dancing classes and
I
everything?
took really no singing. I
Okay.
just sang in church all the time. I was in the choir.
Okay.
And I was always the little girl who sang before her solo in the recital. I'm nobody's baby. That was me.
That was your song?
Yeah, well, that was one of them that I did. And I then did my own nightclub act when I was 13, because my teacher told me it was time that I started earning some money.
Yeah,
And
13.
yeah, so I had to put, she said, you will pick a conductor, you will pick an arranger, you will pick the numbers, you will design the costumes, and I did. And I worked at the Vine Garden in Chicago. I sort of toured the Chicago nightclubs and the surrounding neighborhood nightclubs in the summertime. And my father picked my name because nobody could really spell and read my real name, which is Carolina Maria Laraya. Isn't that pretty? I would have a chance with that today, but in those days,
A little too exotic.
who's gonna know that? Who's gonna be able to say, Lariaria? Well, let's bring her out before she's too old to dance. I was 7. It was my father's Kiwanis luncheon. Yes,
Oh, really?
I would entertain anywhere, at the drop of a hat. I loved to perform.
And do you remember the auditioning for the part of Maria in West Side Story?
I did 13 auditions for West Side Story. I did 3 other shows in the interim. And they have a law in Equity that says, when Equity found out I did that, I was brought up on charges. They were going to expel me because they said, you can't do that. I said, if you are offered the part of Romeo and Juliet, in Leonard Bernstein is writing the music, and Jerry Robbins said, aren't you going to keep coming back? And they said, well, not 13 times. So I said, well, I did. Aren't you glad? I'm glad. And so, no, I would go back. And they changed it, and they made a law called the Carol Lawrence Law. You cannot audition a person more than 3 times without paying them. Isn't that fair? I think that's fair. Yeah. And so that's what I got to do.
And how long did you get to play that role on Broadway?
2 years.
Okay.
I was the only one signed to a 2-year contract, so I had to stay until they closed it.
And then did you tour with it as well?
It went on the road for more than a year.
Yeah.
I did another show called Saratoga, and then it came back, and I joined it because Larry was still with it, Larry Kurt, whom I loved. We really got married every night. We loved each other. I cannot tell you how much I loved that man. He was my favorite leading man of all times. And just the kindest, sweetest person. Ask anybody who knew Larry. He was loved in the business, totally loved, but mostly by me. Mostly by me.
And then you started doing television in the 60s, and you never stopped doing television.
Right, I loved it.
We've all watched you for years doing, as we saw some of the clips.
Yeah.
What are some of the highlights?
I don't remember one of those scenes.
Not even
Kissed
Saved
so
by
many
the Bell.
people in my life. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that's just a drop in the bucket. There's a
I
lot
know.
more. There's a lot more.
We could be here all night.
Yeah.
kissing them.
But certainly, working in television and of course talk shows, game shows,
Yes, all of them.
variety shows,
I love them, yes.
every genre. You were telling me you like doing the chat shows?
I do love doing that.
This is kind of like a chat show. We'll be
It
right
is
back.
sort of, yeah.
We'll take a commercial break. Okay.
Yes, no, we won't.
No, we're not. Okay. And I wanted to ask you about your show, the Carol Lawrence Show.
Right.
And that was sort of a magazine show, a variety
It
show. I
was.
didn't get a chance to see it, but tell us about that show that you did for.
It was mainly interviews with my dear friends from the business, and then we would go to a kitchen because I had the best mother, cook-wise. She was just divine. Rosie was her name, and she made up the most extravagant recipes. And people would be falling. One woman absolutely fainted into her chicken cacciatore because she just ate too much. And they had to take her outside to wake her up. Oh, it was unbelievable. Teresa Parisi, she's long since gone. Because you can't eat like that.
So your book, I Remember Pasta.
Yes.
And can we still get copies of that somewhere?
Of course you can.
Okay. And will you be cooking for us tonight?
I wish I could.
Okay.
We have no kitchen.
We're going to have a dinner
I
break,
would there,
and so
kitchen.
we're all hungry.
Oh, great, okay.
So we'll plan on that. She's going to make pasta for us. Everybody's safe for that.
Right.
I remember you from General Hospital, of course.
Oh, yes.
Tell me about working in soap operas. An entirely different experience. Works
It's
very
the
fast.
hardest job, and any soap opera actor will tell you that that's the hardest, because you're up at the crack of dawn, and they're still writing the script. And they will come up to you in the middle of a scene and say, no, we've decided that you should be saying, and they hand you 3 pages. And then you say, can I have 5 minutes? Well, not a lot more than that.
Did you get to work with a teleprompter, or did you have to memorize everything? Okay.
That was
None of that. So you had to learn it on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
So you must be a quick study.
As fast as they can be. As fast as I could manage.
Yeah. And then a lot of amazing guest roles, and Touched by an Angel, Murder, She Wrote, The Commish, Lois and Clark, Sex and the City, Superman. Yeah, it's on here.
It's wonderful.
Matt Houston, Saved by the Bell, of course, Hotel, which we worked together on Saved by the Bell.
Lots of plays in the week.
Hotel, The Love Boat, Simon and Simon. Just an amazing amount of work. But you always went back to your love, which I'm assuming is the stage.
It still is
Return
live.
to the stage.
Yeah.
And so many incredible stage performances. Aside from West Side Story, we have Saratoga, Subways are for Sleeping,
Right.
I Do, Kiss of the Spider Woman, Funny Girl, The Unsinkable Molly Brown, The Sound of Music, Sweet Charity, No Nanette, Women of the Year, and Sugar Babies.
With Mickey Rooney. Yes! Oh, I love Mickey Rooney. He was a lech. He was a wonderful little lech. You couldn't stand close to him, he'd be pinching you.
Oh my God. Lana Turner was right about him.
Yes.
Okay.
And all of his wives were right.
They were right too, yes. Some of us in the room experienced Mickey Rooney in person.
Oh, he was.
So we're still working
I
through
would
that.
work with him tomorrow. I love him.
And you also did a Broadway body workout.
I did. I
So-
did one of those fitness.
But you're,
1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, you're in great shape. You're a very sprightly young lady.
I will
So
be 91 in 3 days.
happy almost birthday.
Thank you, almost birthday.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, so how do you attribute this long life that you've had, this amazing
I
life?
still try to work out, I still try to walk, I still try to stay alive and interested. Curious is the adjective
Yeah.
that is most helpful, because if you're still working on a part, then you have to stay alive.
Yeah.
And you have to stay interesting, and you have to stay hardworking. I think that's the answer, is never stop working. Just never stop reaching out and talking to people and gleaning from them what is important about life. And mostly it's love.
That's a beautiful sentiment. I think we'll take that with us.
Okay, it's true for me. It's true for me.
Yeah. Well,
My son comes to visit me twice a week at the penitentiary. And he's always, and I always have dinner for him ready, and that may be part of it.
Well, he obviously slipped you a cake with a file in it because you're here. You were able to escape
yes,
and
exactly.
come join us today. And what a thrill for all of us to be able to experience a view from the bridge with you
Well,
and get to watch that with you.
Yes.
I mean, an incredible body of work,
Well,
and you're still going. Hopefully there's
yes.
there's more to come.
Right.
And we want to honor you for that because Cinecon, the whole reason behind Cinecon is an appreciation of film, and we watch TV shows today, we show scopes today, and the appreciation of the people who put that time and effort into bringing the performances to us that we enjoy.
Exactly.
And this is an incredible example of that.
Well,
So I want to bring up someone, a very special friend of yours, who brought us you, Alan Eichler. Alan is with us today, and Alan is a publicist and a producer, a sponsor of our festival, and he's going to come up. Let's set him free, and he's going to present you with the Cinecon Legacy Award. You're our first Cinecon Legacy Award honoree of this year.
how
So,
lovely.
Alan,
I'm really
you want to
honored.
come over here?
Come, Alan. Have a mic or two. Yes.
I'm not going to make a speech.
Yes.
Is it on?
Carol won't remember this, but
I remember very little. Oh, excuse me.
when I started my first job doing publicity, I was just a newcomer, but I was with a very large agency in New York, and Carol was one of our main clients. And she was in New York to do the Sullivan Show, and they wanted someone from the office to go and represent them.
Yes.
So they sent the kid.
Of course. Always.
Up to the Ed Sullivan Theater, what's now the Ed Sullivan Theater. And there was Carol sitting in, it was a rehearsal, and she was in the audience, where the audience would be, but the seats were all empty. And all I did was go up to her and introduce myself. And I was as nervous as I could be because I still was working with big stars. And I don't remember anything I said to you. I just remember you're sitting there looking at me like, what is this?
I love it. I love it.
And all these years later, she of course went on to have this spectacular career. All these years later, a mutual friend got us in touch with each other and said, you know, I think Carol might like to work again. And so we've known each other just a few months, really.
Yes.
And we're still getting to know each other.
Right.
And I'm still trying to get her back on her feet.
Well, they're a little
she's on her
wobbly,
feet, but
but,
she's out into the world again.
thank you.
And I think we will.
That would
With
be
some
nice.
encouragement.
Oh.
She told me, one of the first things she told me was I can still remember lines.
I do. I don't think I remember it yet.
So I'm supposed to give you this.
Oh, okay. It's a big black box. Are we standing? We're standing. Okay. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look at that.
Achievement Award.
It's beautiful. It will go away. It will go on the shelf in my beautiful little apartment. And I invite you to come up, and when I get a stove, we'll cook. That would be fun. Thank you for coming. Oh, photos. Let's do some photos. Here we are.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
Weird.